How will your friends have time for me when they're so busy fighting you? This usually works.
Well, performance issues, it's not uncommon. 1 out of 5.
Two of the biggest and also most controversial games of the year have now been released, both with their surprises and disappointments. And now that we've seen the full release of both Battlefield 5 and Black Ops 4, it's time to decide which is the better game and which one's best for you. Let's take a look. What is up, guys? I am the Gaming Gorilla. It is a pleasure to have your company once again. If you do go on to enjoy the video today, make sure to smack that subscribe button down below for more videos just like this one. Alright, now before we get into the comparison, I'm going to say some good and some bad things about both games. Let me start off by saying that I think they're both actually very good games, but I'm going to tell you which one I think is better, and how to decide which one's best for you. So please, try not to get triggered if I say something you don't like. We're all friends here, alright? Let's get it. One of the first things you'll notice after playing both games is that they're both missing significant features that many of us had expected. Obviously, this year, Call of Duty doesn't have a campaign, whereas Battlefield 5 didn't deliver the Battle Royale mode that most of us initially expected to be ready at launch. So I can't do a mode-by-mode comparison for every part of the games like I initially wanted to. But what we can compare, and I'm sure most of you are here for, is the multiplayer. So, let's take a look at some of the most important parts of both games, those being gameplay, graphics, content, and the longevity of both games heading into the future. Now, both games provide completely different multiplayer experiences, which is always exciting to see. Starting with Black Ops 4, playing Black Ops 4's multiplayer is a pleasant surprise, and it's an experience that I personally didn't think Call of Duty could provide anymore. Somehow, after a few rough years for the Call of Duty series, the developer Treyarch has recaptured the feeling of fun within Call of Duty. As I said in my Black Ops 4 review, while the past few installments of Call of Duty haven't been terrible, they lost me only a few weeks after release. But weeks after the release of Black Ops 4, I'm still enjoying myself playing the multiplayer. Black Ops 4 has overhauled the Call of Duty multiplayer system that we know, while keeping it familiar at the same time. This year, Black Ops 4 has taken the specialist system from Black Ops 3 and pushed it to the next level. Not quite to the level of a game like Overwatch or Rainbow Six Siege, but close enough to the point where playing each specialist will give you a unique experience each and every game, and it will affect the way you play and the decisions you'll make. This makes every game different than the last, and just gives you another reason to keep playing. The specialist system, along with other changes to health regeneration, the return to the boots on ground gameplay, and the nostalgia of playing old fan favourite maps like Firing Range or Summit, make Black Ops 4 a different experience to any other Call of Duty to date, and brings diversity and fun back to the series. Is the multiplayer perfect? Hell no. There's still glaring issues with weapon balance and especially the spawns within the game. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes these do get really frustrating to the point where you might want to stop playing. But for the most part, it doesn't take away from what's a surprising improvement on the usual Call of Duty experience that we've come to expect. Moving over to Battlefield 5, one of the first things you'll find out after you load up the game, well, actually as soon as you load up the game you'll see this picture. And am I the only one that thinks this picture is a little bit out of proportion? She thick? After the interesting loading screen and the interesting menu, and finally getting into some games, you'll find out soon enough that this is the familiar Battlefield we all know and love. With mostly massive maps, breathtaking scenery, and heaps of vehicles to jump in and have fun with. This definitely feels like a continuation of Battlefield 1, which makes sense because it's set in World War II as opposed to World War I. One of my favourite parts of Battlefield 5's multiplayer, though admittedly I haven't got to play with a full squad of friends yet, is the enhanced focus on squad play. Battlefield 5 has introduced what could almost be compared to Call of Duty's score streaks, with each squad accumulating score as they, well, earn score throughout the match. Once the squad has a certain amount of score, the squad leader can call in one of 4 different abilities, ranging from a care package with health and ammo, to a massive damage dealing missile. which almost feels like a more logical implementation of the old commander system that we saw in Battlefield 4. Aside from that, you can now revive squad mates regardless of what class you are, and you can only heal yourself once per life, unless you're a medic who can supply health to yourself and teammates. It's the little gameplay changes like this that make Battlefield 5 unique in its own right when compared to other Battlefield titles. Perhaps the biggest difference to Battlefield 5's multiplayer though are the new building mechanics. At pretty much every capture point, you have the ability to build different types of fortifications. This can be something as simple as a roadblock, or something as complex as your own little fort made out of sandbags. It's something that I don't think many people expected, but it adds a new element to the traditional Battlefield gameplay. I like it. Not only that, but like I said before, this definitely feels like the next Battlefield after Battlefield 1. And another reason I say that is there's a lot more weapons and customization for you to play with. Where Battlefield 1 had a severe lack of weapons, Battlefield 5 improves on this with way more weapons than its predecessor, and customizations as a whole. With all that said though, Battlefield 5's multiplayer isn't without its downfalls. While there are a few unique features in Battlefield 5, it still struggles to differentiate itself when compared to Battlefield 1, with the game having a very similar feeling to it overall. When comparing Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 4 for example, there's obviously a massive difference, whereas with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, not so much. And that alone can somewhat make it hard to justify as a purchase. It's also disappointing to see that there's only 8 maps at launch, and along with that, one of everyone's favourite modes, Rush, isn't even in the game. But I'll go further into that later in the video. I should also mention that Battlefield 5's multiplayer is pretty buggy at the moment, with a lot of little glitches happening pretty often. While I haven't had many major issues myself, some people's games are crashing. But for me, my worst glitch was falling through the map after getting killed, so make of that what you will. When comparing the two games in terms of gameplay, they both have their ups and downs, and it's tough to say which one is best for everyone because of how different Call of Duty is to Battlefield. So basically, if you like Call of Duty, you'll like Black Ops 4, and if you like Battlefield, you'll have fun in Battlefield 5. If you've made it this far into the video, feel free to leave a comment down below telling me what you think of either game. I love having conversations with you guys down in the comments, and I want to grow this channel into a community where we can all talk and debate about the games we love to play. So leave a comment, even if it's negative. Big thanks to everyone for being a part of the community so far, and continuing to help it grow. Alright, back to the video. Let's move on to the graphics. When it comes to Call of Duty, we sort of know what we're gonna get. Pretty much every year with COD, we get decent enough graphics, but it's never really mind-blowing. That said though, the graphics aren't terrible this year, with some of the remasters of old maps like Summit and Firing Range definitely looking a lot better than they did back in Black Ops 1. But as for character visuals and facial expressions, nothing new to see here. Let's move to Battlefield 5. One of the most amazing parts of playing a new Battlefield game is of course the visuals. Every single time I've played a new Battlefield, I've often found myself in the middle of a match just pause and look around at how detailed some of the maps are. This is especially true when you're flying around the map from above, and Battlefield 5 doesn't disappoint in this aspect. Although World War II was one of the most atrocious events in the history of the world, Battlefield 5 still somehow finds a way to let us enjoy the beauty of it all, with some of the most amazingly gorgeous maps we've ever had in Battlefield to date. Now let's have a look at the actual content of both games, and not just the multiplayer, but the overall experience you're getting when you pay your $60+ for either game. Starting with Battlefield 5 this time, War Stories has returned from Battlefield 1, with 3 stories at launch. Each story took me about 1.5 to 2 hours to finish, and I was taking my time. So you're looking at about 4 to 6 hours of content here, depending on how you spend your time. While the stories are short, they're definitely action-packed, and all of them try to implement the more wide-open Battlefield-esque gameplay that we see in the multiplayer, giving you multiple ways to approach the missions, which I think is a pretty good idea. As for the stories themselves though, I guess they're good for what they are, but I actually kind of had trouble building an emotional connection with any character, because of how short the stories are. Other than 3 short story missions, the only other content in Battlefield 5 right now is the multiplayer, which we just spoke about. And yes, there are some new game modes in multiplayer, but the glaring issue I see when I look at the multiplayer as a long-time fan, they took out my favourite game mode. They took out Rush, and instead, in the Battlefield 5 post-release content roadmap, right on the screen it shows the return of Rush. Literally as a piece of quote-unquote free content in the Battlefield 5 roadmap. And this is the problem with Battlefield 5. I have never seen a more perfect example of why people hate EA. They've taken content out that should have been in the game at launch and rebranded it as free content in the future. And I know some of you are probably thinking, TGG, calm down, it's just one game mode. But it's not. They've done the same thing with the new co-op mode Combined Arms, missing upon release. Oh, and that exciting new Battle Royale we were all looking forward to? Missing. Gone. It's not there. Instead, it's quote-unquote free content in the future. If you want to see an example of how a game should look upon release, look no further than Black Ops 4. And yes, Black Ops 4 is missing a single player, I get it. But what we got as a result was a complete game at launch. On top of the polished multiplayer, we got 4 co-op zombie maps at launch, those being Voyage of Despair, 9, Blood of the Dead, a remake of Black Ops 2's Mob of the Dead, and Classified, a remake of Black Ops 1's 5. All of which are actually really good, in my opinion. And Blackout, an outstanding Battle Royale which caught a lot of us by surprise, taking us back to some of the best parts of the Black Ops series, with parts of fan favourite multiplayer maps and zombies maps featuring throughout the mode, as well as nostalgic weapons. If you want to hear more of what I think about the zombies and Battle Royale modes, click on the card in the top right of your screen now and that'll take you to my Black Ops 4 review. But when it comes to launch content and which game will keep you engaged longer, unfortunately, this one's not even a question. It's Black Ops 4, without a doubt. And finally, I want to talk about the longevity of both games and which one I think will keep the community engaged for longer. When it comes to Battlefield, despite the fact that a lot of content has been cut from the base model of the game and put into future content releases, it's actually a pretty smart release model. Looking at the biggest content drops we know of coming up in Battlefield 5's future, we've got the return of Rush, the introduction of Combined Arms, a new war story, the introduction of Battle Royale, and the introduction of Tides of War, which will apparently be, quote, an evolving journey featuring a new narrative every few months, as well as new multiplayer maps and cosmetic drops. For me personally, I know I'll be coming back for pretty much every big content drop. And the best part about it all is it's all free, so everyone will be able to join in. Like I said before, I think this is actually a really smart business model, but for me, I still don't think I can get over the fact that most of this stuff wasn't in the game at launch, because it really should have been there. Moving to the longevity of Black Ops 4, we've already started to see some of Black Ops 4's post-content release plans take place, with the introduction of a Fortnite-like Battle Pass system called the Black Market, which rewards players with skins, emotes, and emblems the more they play the game. They've also recently added some Halloween skins to the Black Market, and it looks like Treyarch will continue to add seasonal content throughout the year for free, which is really good to see. Not all skins are free though, unfortunately, with microtransactions already being in the game to buy extra tiers in the Black Market, as well as buying completely separate packs that aren't available unless you pay money. And that definitely sucks, but at least there's no pay-to-win elements in the game. On top of that, Black Ops 4 has already had a new map release, free for everyone, which is, of course, we all know it, Nuketown. And you're seeing some gameplay of that on the screen now. Black Ops 4 will also have a Season Pass, which will cost money. In the Season Pass, we'll get 12 new multiplayer maps, 4 Zombies maps, and 4 Blackout skins. Oh, and before I forget, that's another thing. Blackout has already had new skins released, which are actually pretty tough to get, and that alone has kept me coming back. So when determining which game will have a better life cycle, I think both have decent post-release content plans, but I just can't get over the fact that Battlefield 5's post-release content is the type of content that was already released with Black Ops 4. And even though Battlefield 5's post-release content is free, it should already be in the game, so I'll have to give this one to Black Ops 4. As you can see by the results, in my opinion, if I had to recommend one game to pick up as of today, I recommend Black Ops 4. In terms of purely multiplayer, both games provide fantastic experiences. While they both have their downfalls, you'll find hours and hours of fun regardless of which game you play. And despite Battlefield 5's superior graphics, there's just not enough content in the game at the moment for me to be able to say that it's a better game than its main competitor. So this battle goes to Black Ops 4. So that will do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you made it to the end of the video, leave a comment down below. I'd actually be really interested to see how many people made it to the end. And yeah, I guess if you leave a comment down below telling me you made it to the end, I'll give it a love heart. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the video. I put a lot of time and effort into this one, so feel free to subscribe as well if you want to see more videos like this one. But yeah, that'll do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!